in your marketing, you have got to be way more forward about what you're selling. So maybe you have been posting, you're getting some engagement, but it's not at the level that you would like to be getting. Like maybe it's a couple likes, it's the same people over and over again, but you're not really sensing this like overwhelming amount of humans engaging with your stuff. First thing is that I totally understand. I remember in 2021, early 2021, oh my gosh, I'm like trying to get all the years straight now. Early 2021, I was launching programs and I would get like 20 likes on a post, one DM per week about it. And I thought I had to launch and then stop launching, and then launch and then stop launching. And I realized that just like Target, who can accept customers every single day, you can too. Your business, online business, actually could handle more customers than Target if we're only looking at their brick and mortar model because you have the internet. So I started to apply this to my own work, and I was like, okay, if Starbucks is open all the time, I can be open all of the time. And I said, okay, what will happen if I promote myself more? What would happen if I sold a little bit more? If I was more forward about my offers? So I started just talking about it. And in the beginning, people weren't watching. I remember going live in my Facebook group when I opened that in June of 2021, and it was just me. And for 5 months, I would go live every single Monday at, I think, 5 p.m. No one was there. And I would talk, and if you're inside of our Facebook group, you can probably scroll all the way down or go to the media section, and you can see, these videos are terrible, and I'm looking back on them now. I loved myself then, but good Lord have mercy on my soul. I've grown so much since then. But I was still showing up. And so I started to show up more. I thought, what if I get my message in front of people all of the time? So when they open up their phone, I'm the first person on their inbox. I'm the first person they see on Facebook, first person on TikTok, first person on Instagram. And then it started to happen. I started to see more and more people coming from places that I didn't even know that they existed. Like I didn't even know that they were there lurking and watching. But what happened was I started to break through the glass. Many of you, you're standing behind this glass wall, putting up your flyers, hoping that people are going to see you and notice you. Now, look, that will get you so far. Sure, $10,000 a month. But I want to ask you this question. Do you want to build a business that's $10,000 a month? Or do you want to build a business that's $10,000 a day? $10,000 an hour? So many people in the online space talk about 10K months. 10K months are not a lot of money. It's not. When you realize, and here's why, when you realize you can do so much more in life, you look at $10,000 and you're like, oh my God, I saw that was a lot. I thought that was a good standard. But you are so intelligent. You can do so much more than you think you can. So if you transcend it past the 10K months, and let's say you even did 20K months, okay, well now you're doing 20K months. Okay, this is amazing. But what else are you capable of? I don't know about you, but it would be absolutely awful if I just hit 10K months and then stayed there forever. Because Tony Robbins says if we're not growing, we're dying. He always talks about that inside of his seminars. If you're not growing, you're dying. Plants just don't stay stagnant. They're either growing or they're dying. Whatever part they are in their evolution. Same thing with humans. We're always growing or we're dying. And so inside of your business, I want you to, in this episode here, really tap into how big do you want to take this? Because, I get it. When I first started, I was like, $100,000 a year, that sounds really amazing. That sounds great. I was like, $5,000 a month, which Now looking at those numbers don't compute, but $5,000 a month or 6 figures a year, like that sounds amazing. And then that happened. And I realized that that was my wall. That was my ceiling of where I thought I could go to. I thought $100,000 a year, oh, this is the epitome of it. What do you think is your epitome that's not really an epitome? That's not really like the best thing in the world? I want you to expand that in this episode today. Whether it's $10,000 a month and you're striving to get there, I want you to expand beyond it, because the reality is you are capable of doing so much more than you think you are, and you're playing in baby CEO energy. You're not actually playing in the big game. If your goal is $100,000 a year or $10,000 months, you're going to move like that. And the reality is if you're moving like that, you probably won't even hit that, because you're underestimating the amount of moves required to even hit $100K in a year or $10,000 a month. Do you understand what I'm saying? I want you to expand your vision for your business. Even if in the short term, right now, it's I want to make $20,000 months. In the long term, though, what is it? Because you're going to hit it, and then what? And I want you to play in the realm of I am in this for the long term. I'm in for multi-million-dollar months. It's so crazy that I even say this, because in 2020, when I was making $50,000 a year working for someone else in New York City, for those of you that don't know, I managed a dance company in New York City. I was the administrative and operations manager. And before that, I was teaching dance in New York City school system, and then choreographing and auditioning for different performances. And I made around $50,000 a year. I also was a front desk manager at a fitness studio on the Upper East Side in Midtown, and I worked with them. It was a dance fitness studio. I also sold supplements on the internet from my phone, which thank God I did that, because it gave me all the failure that I needed to go through to get me to where I am today. But when I was making $50,000 a year, I had no idea then that in 2023 I would be saying multi-million-dollar months are possible. I had no idea I would even be having this conversation and being completely serious about it. What? You gotta start playing in a bigger game. You gotta start showing up with moves, with putting yourself out there. So let's drop back into the story. When I hit my first 100K, I told you I started showing up more. I started right before it. I started showing up more, posting more. Can I be the first person they see in their inbox when they open their phone, right when they get up in the morning? So I made that a point. Okay, let me be the one. I'm going to be the most obnoxious person. When they open their phone, I want to be there. I want to be there serving them, giving them amazing information. You have got to get your voice out there. If you are posting even once per day on Instagram, not enough, especially in 2023. Maybe if you were doing that in 2020, that would have been like, ooh, spicy, like she's out there really doing this. But if you aren't getting visible and no one knows who you are and you're not getting a lot of engagement, then you have to show up more. And this doesn't mean that you have to do more frequency. It could also mean more depth. It could actually mean that the content that you're putting out is just bad. And so it's not getting pushed out to the algorithm. It's not getting pushed out to your audience because it's not good. Which is a whole other episode on how to make good content. Or if you're in our membership, study the trainings inside of there. But you have to start putting yourself out there and promoting yourself 10 times more. I think of Gary Vee. And Gary Vee is a very successful entrepreneur. Gary Vee, do you know how many times he posts on social media? But then you're telling me, well, actually no one tells me this because I don't think anyone would, because you guys know where I stand. But you are posting barely anything, and then you're like, wait, why don't I have my big movement yet? It's like you don't deserve to have a big movement because you can't even lift your thumb to make a piece of content. Get out of here. If Gary Vee can post 5 million times per day, you can post once per day, okay? So that's just out of the question. I'm not even entertaining that anymore. Post every single day. Get over it. I'm done having that conversation. I'm done with that one. You got to promote yourself. I think it was Bob Proctor that said this: the person that promotes themselves the best wins. You can promote yourself, put yourself out there. What does this look like? Talking about your achievements, talking about challenges that you've been through, talking about what you're doing in your life today. But then here's the thing. People will say, well, I'm not amazing. I'm not good enough. I don't have amazing achievement. It's like, that's your perception. That's your perception of your life. Your life is amazing. Somebody, I guarantee, I'm 100% positive, somebody in this world would look at your life and go, wow, what they're doing is incredible. I want that. And so while you're over here doubting yourself, saying, I'm not good enough, my life sucks, well, honestly, quite frankly, you don't deserve to have people working with you because you can't even be grateful for where you're at in your life right now. I remember in 2020, I had just quit my job in New York City. I booked a 1-month trip to Costa Rica, but I knew I was never going to be looking back because of my higher self. You ready for this? I got a sublet for November and December, but I said I was only going to Costa Rica for 1 month. So make that make sense. I knew I wasn't going to be returning at the end of the month. And when I went there, I had just quit my job. I was doing all of these gigs online. I was teaching fitness for this company in the UK. I was a nutrition vlogger, basically an Ask Amy, but for nutrition. And by the way, I'm not nutrition, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not certified, but I had done some fitness coaching, so I had that experience. And, oh my God, I was doing all these different things online. I wasn't making that much money. I was not making that much money at all. I had my New York City rent, which I had the sublet for, but that only ended in December. So I had to pay for that starting in January. I had all of my expenses in Costa Rica. I had my student loans that I was still paying for, and I had to feed myself and do all those things, other bills coming in, etc. And I was making not a lot of money because I had just quit my job, and I was building my empire. And I remember, okay, so my 1 month in November had ended inside of this really nice Airbnb. It was I gotta find housing. So I met this person in Costa Rica, and he's like, oh, I know of this place, I've stayed here before, it's great, blah, 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 whatever. It was $800 for the month. It was so cheap, and it was the worst housing I've ever stayed in my life. It was literally a hut. There was no hot water. It was not literally a hut. I'm being dramatic. It was a small, very small apartment. It wasn't nice whatsoever. There were a lot of roaches. There was no hot water. There were scorpions in the closet. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I had a lot of other personal things going on in my life. Someone had just died. I was going through this huge awakening journey in my life, working on getting healthy. I had stopped drinking. I was working towards not drinking anymore, and I was on this big awakening in my life. But I remember going on the internet during that time in my life and still being extremely grateful for the life that I had. And even though I had a lot of problems at that time, I was still very happy. I was still very excited about life. I was still the same Bridget James Lang that I am today, which just makes me so emotional thinking about. And I wasn't really making any money, but people still bought from me because I was so just I'm going to make this the most incredible adventure of my lifetime, but then get this, I'm going to go and talk about it. So if you're not even talking about your journey and creating an incredible story, no one's going to know who you are. You live an incredible life. You got to go start talking about it. I don't even care. I always tell people, even if I lived on a farm in Kansas, you would see me with the cows every day talking. I don't even know if there are cow farms in Kansas or wherever. I don't even know. Like, I would be with the cows, is what I'm saying. I would be with the cows. I would be talking to them. I would be, like, doing everything to blast this all over the internet and be like, I love my life, because this goes back to loving you. Now, there have been so many degrees of this, of growing my business, where I've fallen more and more in love with myself. And that's the beautiful thing, is I continue to just open up layers of myself and who Bridget James Ling really is. But I still loved myself and have been wildly obsessed with who I am since birth, honestly. And I have to thank my parents for this. They're just so, my dad is so, like, he has a very big ego and he's so in love with who he is. And my mom's very positive and, like, you can do anything vibe. So a mixture of that, growing up as a child, it really helped me to have this personality today. So no matter what, you could put me in a closet and I would be like, this is amazing. Like, I'm going to find a way to make this the best. And that's what people do on the internet. They talk about it. They share their lives. They make it seem like they're smarter than you, even if they aren't, but they make you feel that way using marketing. Okay? So, I want you to promote yourself. I want you to go on social media, talk about your offers, like, all of the time, every single day. Your homework for this episode today is go talk about your offers every single day, because you are straight up playing yourself if you are waiting for your product to be ready, if you are waiting for the coaching program to be ready, if you are waiting for the retreat to be ready. You are straight up playing yourself, because here's the thing. You could be using all this time to learn how to sell so that when the product is ready to meet the marketplace, you know how to sell. But if you're waiting for the actual launch of the product to learn how to sell and you're going to fumble and suck at it, no one's going to buy. So my thought is, use the time you have now to sell, to build a community, to build relationships, so that when you're actually selling, people are buying. Okay, Freedom Queen, put your crown on. If you got value from this, share it to your Instagram stories. Tag me in it. I will reshare you to my Instagram stories and feature you there and send you a little message to connect with you. All right, Freedom Queen, you know what to do. Go promote the heck out of yourself.